Hello, and thank you for joining us for Hello, Mayor. I'm City of Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman, and today we're going to take a look inside at some fabulous museums we have here in the City of Las Vegas, each of them showcasing a very important part of our city and state history. We have Rob McCoy from the Neon Museum and Jonathan Ullman from the Mob Museum joining me right now. So thank you both. I mean, this is glorious to see such very giant personalities here doing so much for the city. So everything is about the historic nature of our community and what you're doing. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Wonderful, and having you back, Jonathan, of course. I know you both have much to brag about.
We do.
But we'll start with the museum that opened first of the two, both in the same year. So Jonathan, tell us a little bit about some recent acknowledgments, something about being in the top 5 of what?
So we were honored by USA Today to be named in the top 5 of history museums in the entire nation. So
that is simply incredible.
Pretty incredible company. When you think about some of the museums that are on that list, the World War II Museum, the National Civil Rights Museum, there's it's an esteemed company. So that is quite an honor for us.
And to think of the fact that you are in the old post office first federal courthouse. How was that selected anyway? Is the site, or was it happenstance?
Oh, there was nothing happenstance about this, man. You should know as well as anybody that it was under the former mayor, Goodman.
Thank you. That's enough. We will not talk about it anymore. So moving right along, tell us a little bit about how many visitors. That's really been incredible as well.
Yeah. So we opened in February of 2012. So we just had our 8th anniversary. Wow. It's Rob remembers that was the year of downtown that we all opened.
And I was at your opening.
And I was at your opening.
Wow.
Okay, enough of the love affair. Moving along here.
And since that time, we've had over 2.5 million visitors. We did 2019. We did more than 400,000, and it has been an extraordinary run for us. I mean, that's. I think it's been a tremendous team that we've had in place, amazing supporters in the community, of course, our partners at the city that have helped the organization grow. And we never stop. Your
mission, there are many people that watch the show, thank heavens, that really learn so much. What was the purpose of the museum? What is its essence?
Yeah, so the mission of the museum is to advance the public understanding of organized crime's history and impact on American society. And that's a mouthful, and we actually go deeper than that, because the museum is very much about preserving our local history, starting with that amazing building that's, as you mentioned, first opened in 1933. It's a former U.S. Post Office and federal courthouse. It's on the National Registry of Historic Places. Very important, not just because of the incredible Depression-era neoclassical architecture, but also because of the events that took place inside, in the courtroom, that do tie to organized crime, both locally and nationally. Was one of the locations of the Kefauver Committee hearings that took place in 1950, 1951, which is a whole another history lesson that I won't get into right now. But our purpose is to really just help educate the public.
And are you doing that? Are you out in the schools? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You have screenings? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we do a whole host of things. I mean, the museum is open on a daily basis for visitors to come through and just enjoy the base experience. Beyond that, we have many public programs. And those can range from author talks, panel discussions, and everything from very historic events that relate to organized crime and law enforcement to very contemporary topics, and even things that deal with popular culture. As a matter of fact, we just opened a new exhibit about Mob on TV. So you can see exhibits that relate to things like Boardwalk Empire or The Sopranos or Breaking Bad.
Or Casino.
Or Casino. But there's also, there is a lot of really rich, important programming that we do that is very, very community focused. So we do community safety forums where we invite members of law enforcement to come and speak on a given topic. So it might be on something like how to avoid cybercrime. And we make those available to the general public absolutely for free. So if you reserve for one of those programs that happen monthly, you can go to our website, you RSVP, you go to the program, you can enjoy the museum, no cost. And beyond those types of programs, we also get out in the community. So we do educational outreach. We have educators that go in a vehicle, go out to schools. In fact, thanks to the Centennial Commission, we will have a brand new vehicle that we'll be taking out very soon. And those programs are focused on Title I schools, so the schools that have the most challenges providing field trips for students to the museum. And then in addition, we also get out to community centers and libraries where we do senior outreach.
So you really, I mean, and you have an app.
Yes, we have an app. We just launched an app in January, and it's fantastic. This app.
What is it?
So it's a number of things. So it's a way of visitor wayfinding. So if you're in the museum, you can see a directory of exhibits. You can see precisely where you are and how to get to different things. There are missions and tours. So if you want a particular type of tour so a focus on Las Vegas history, for example, you can navigate through that.
And where does that history start? What year would that go back to?
Well,
40s?
so it would go back to really 1905. I mean, the beginning of Las Vegas. There are missions, so if you want to make it a little bit more of a challenge, like a scavenger hunt, compete with your friends, you can do that. But then there's also, aside from all the information that it provides, right at your fingertips, we have this great feature we call the Doppelgangster, which uses facial recognition software. And we don't store that information, we don't provide it to anybody, there's nothing to worry about. But you take a picture of yourself or a friend or family member, and it'll bring back matches of people,
look like that.
people that are either real organized crime figures, real law enforcement figures, or people that were associated through either popular culture or some other way. And then you can share that, as well as understand it provides a little biography for you as well. But this app has been incredible. In fact, it's been used in 59 countries around the world. So we actually know where people are when they're using
Is that the most incredible?
Yeah.
So an interactive app that is around the world and traveling everywhere for the law enforcement. It is called the Museum of Law Enforcement and Organized Crime, right?
National Museum of Organized Crime and Law Enforcement.
Right, so we're just so thrilled. And just in a nutshell, your background, were you always in museum work? Were you in organized crime? What were you?
No, I'm a museum guy.
Okay,
so I came out specifically for this opportunity, previously working right before the Mob Museum. I was at the National Soccer Hall of Fame and Museum, and before that, I was for quite a while at the Liberty Science Center, which is an interactive science museum in Liberty State Park in New Jersey.
So it's so exciting. And what are your hours, just quickly, because we want to hear too about the great Boneyard and the Neon.
So we are the upper three floors of the museum. So I'm excluding the underground, which is a speakeasy. The rest of the museum is open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The speakeasy is also open during those times, but the speakeasy distillery space stays open until midnight.
And I hear it's very, very successful.
It's wonderful.
So it's wonderful. So please be sure to get down and go to the Mob Museum, and you can do it with headphones. Can you do it with a tour guide?
You can. We have wonderful staff throughout the museum, a wonderful contingent of volunteers. You can also use an audio tour if you wish. There's many ways to enjoy the museum. And in fact, even if you're not at the museum, you go to our website, there are plenty of videos of past programs that you can watch. There are blogs that you can read. There's tons and tons of content available.
So it's a day well spent, so make sure you get to the Mob Museum down there at the end of, what is that, 3rd and
Stewart Avenue.
So everything's there in a donation box on the street if you want to help support different initiatives of the city. But we are delighted. But opening a few months later, we have the fabulous, fabulous Neon Museum. And Rob McCoy, you have been with it how many years?
It will be 4 years in May. Hard to believe. It's been a quick 4 years.
It has, and you have just been at the forefront of building this. It is a museum I remember back to the days of Mayor Jan Jones.
Correct.
And with her dearest friends, Robin Greenspun and Barbara Malasky.
That's correct.
Back with that had to be somewhere in the
mid-90s.
Mid-90s, talking about these wonderful, wonderful signs.
Right.
So tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit. Are you born and raised here?
I am a native.
Is that amazing?
My family has been here since 1939.
Coming because?
My aunt first, because of her husband being in the Air Force. My mother followed, and then my grandparents and great-grandparents came in 1940. My great-grandfather was a rancher in Colorado, and he was hired to run a working cattle ranch in Indian Springs, Nevada.
Is that absolutely incredible?
It's the history.
So did that continue to exist during your youth so you could work on the cattle ranch?
No. I was playing golf.
Okay.
No.
And what high school did you go to?
Western.
Western. So that was in its earlier years?
It was. It was in its earlier years, and all three of us, my brother and my sister, we all graduated from Western High School, and it's been fascinating to grow up. The year I was born, there were 50,000 people living in Las Vegas.
Isn't that
now
incredible?
We're close to 2.5 million, and to be a witness to this history, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
See, isn't that phenomenal? And so tell us about your background coming up through the creation of this fabulous, fabulous art, historical piece that's one of a kind in the world.
Well, my professional background actually began in television news, Channel 3. Actually interviewed your husband numerous occasions and some of his clients.
Oh, well, that must have been. See, do we have any video of that, John? Get that video.
And then left in the early 80s to go into the corporate world and spent most of my career in the corporate world. At the end of that stint, however, I became a member, actually chairman of the board of the Neon Museum. And one thing led to another.
For a reason, what was your interest there? Was it historical preservation?
Absolutely.
Were you into the arts? What?
Well, I grew up with all those signs, and I have very fond memories as a child. So for cheap entertainment on a Friday night or a Saturday night, my parents would throw us in the car, and we would drive down Fremont Street to see the lights, or we would drive down the Strip to see what the newest sign was. So it's very personal with me. And it's looking back on my life, I think every single career turn I have has pointed me to this exact moment in time.
And all those years ago, did you have a favorite sign?
Yes.
Which one?
Silver Slipper.
See, now that it's the iconic of iconics, but I do the Howdy.
Oh, yeah, which is still working,
Yes.
and at the Pioneer Club on Fremont Street. Howdy, partner.
So I don't even know where to begin with you because there's so many signs I remember in the days when we came here and as the town has developed as well. But to get the impetus to go ahead and collect these monstrous signs, I would imagine, what are some of the largest ones?
Well, the great sign designers of the sign companies here in town were seeing their creations in danger of being bulldozed because we were bulldozing the hotels.
Everything. Right.
And so somebody had to figure out how to save these because it really is part of our history. We have the largest...
What are we looking at right now on the screen?
Well, that is neon actually being made and bent.
Now, is that an artist creating it from scratch, or
correct.
is that an artist working on some model that somebody...
That was an artist creating it from scratch. And of course, we work with some great sign companies here in town. Yesco, Hartlauer Signs. They're wonderful partners. And the largest sign in the collection is the freestanding Stardust sign, which was 18 stories tall. It is in
no
multiple
idea.
pieces in our boneyard. We'll probably never be able to afford to put it back together. Just to cut it up and move it to the museum was a $240,000 job.
Isn't that incredible? And so much of what you get, I know we have these centennial plates that preserve,
Yes.
or the extra monies that come in after the license plate work to help us donate money to good causes that preserve the history of the city.
Right, and we've
the
tapped the
community.
Centennial Commission a couple of times. You've been.
But how did you get that $240,000 to move and bring it to wherever?
The wonderful Bill Boyd out of his
Isn't
own
that-
pocket.
See, now that's what you rely on. So there's no continuum except now that you're operative of what you charge a guest to come in.
Right, and we're 90% tourist oriented, and so we've done quite well at the box office, as has Jonathan in his museum, and so we're in a good place financially, and of course we have no debt due to the city of Las Vegas.
Well, what is amazing to me is that you have so many signs. You have gotten such a storage issue. What's been happening recently to allow you to get those signs up operative so we can visit?
Well, our latest sign to be lit, and you're going to be excited about this one. This just happened last week. Is the atomic font of the Stardust Hotel. These letters are about 18 feet high. They sit right just to the south of the Hard Rock guitar. And when I was over there testing it one night with one of my directors, the minute he flipped the switch on, everybody who was in the boneyard just gathered and the cameras started clicking. It is that spectacular.
Isn't that, and how does this happen? I mean, how do you prioritize which, where, what signs are? I mean, you are squashed.
We are squashed, and they have to have a historic significance, and I think they have to be architecturally or design-wise unique signs. And the Stardust sign is that because it has its own font. It's called the atomic font. And so it made a lot of sense to light that one up, and we finally got it done. We're so happy about it.
So you were not alive, and I don't want to give up your age or anything, would not do that, during the testing out at the test site.
Well, actually, I was.
Okay, but you probably weren't too aware of it. But everything at that time, in the 50s, early 50s, when those atomic tests were being held, that has gone on to the name of atomic liquors. I mean, and there now that we have the atomic font. This is so significant to our city to preserve this history.
It
and so
absolutely
that
is.
how many square feet is the boneyard on?
We are currently acre and a half. Wow. But with the acquisition of Reed Whipple from the city of Las Vegas, we are doubling our footprint. And so we're pretty excited about that expansion. Now we're looking at some video right there.
What is that? Could you tell us what's
Reed,
that?
That is Reed Whipple in its present form. And as you can see, we've got our sign out saying we're expanding. And this Reed Whipple will give us, for the first time, indoor exhibit space, which we've not had. We've been primarily an outdoor museum. We'll be able to move our offices in. We'll have an 8,000 square foot great hall, plus a smaller exhibit hall. But the most exciting feature of this new building, and it's being totally rehabbed, the most exciting feature is something that I call the glass garage. Our visitors have told us for years, we want to see neon being made. So we will have operating glass garage. We will have our sign makers in there, and they'll be working on signs, blowing neon, and even better than that, we'll be offering classes in neon.
Fabulous. I mean, I know people who've retired who'd like to pick up a new talent, and that now, where is that coming? Is that part of the sign companies, the ESCOs of our community?
Oh, yes.
That are helping you out there?
Yeah, all of our sign partners will be having a hand in this, and they're all looking forward to it, very excited about it.
And so when are you hopeful of beginning moving and then planning? You have been storing, as I recall, in the lot or the interior at the Review-Journal. Thank you very much, Review-Journal. A lot of signs.
We have.
So will that all move over into Reed Whipple or into the back lot, and you will be using that area too?
Yeah, because it's sitting on a significant amount of acreage, we'll have a third boneyard, and it will be at the back portion of the Reed Whipple parking lot. And we've got a lot of signs that the public has never seen.
So
and
what are you
we're
gonna
hoping
do?
to we're going
Rotate?
well, and we're going to be actually putting signs in the Great Hall inside the museum, inside Reed Whipple. Wow. And people are going to get to see signs they've never seen before. So it'll give us a whole different new dimension.
But I know, because I was there, this fabulous exhibit you have on the site currently of Tim Burton.
Yes.
So for those that aren't aware of, maybe its youngest generation may not know, but a little bit about that exhibit and how long they have to still see it, and how'd you get it?
Well, we were honored when Tim Burton actually called us and said, I love the Neon Museum, I love Las Vegas, I have a long history with Las Vegas. I've not done an exhibit, a major exhibit in the United States in 9 years. Can we do an exhibit at the Neon Museum? Well, how do you turn Tim Burton down? So this is it. You see the Las Vegas sign. That's the actually the title of the exhibit. This is probably the most significant art exhibit in the history of the city of Las Vegas. And I was paid the ultimate compliment on opening night, and you were there and presented Tim with the commemorative light bulb from the Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign.
Yes.
His attorney came up to me, who's from Los Angeles. I said, how are you? And he goes, well, I just got back from New York City. I said, oh, what's going on in New York? He said, I was at MoMA. And he leaned in and he said, and by the way, you are on their radar.
Oh, you're kidding. See,
Yeah.
isn't that fabulous?
Yeah. So it's taken us to a whole different dimension.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, I look at these two museums. I mean, they're so incredibly phenomenal because this is another way for us to become this world-class city that we all hope to be. And you can't do it without culture and art and history. It's so very important. The one thing that's missing that well, there are tons of things that are missing, but the Concha Hotel, and that was something that existed next to the Riviera Hotel, the Domaney brothers, correct?
Correct. They sold that piece of property. They're going to tear down the motel, and they said, let's donate the Paul Revere Williams designed Googie-esque lobby to the Neon Museum, and that's how we got it. And of course, Paul Revere Williams is very well known around the country, very noted architect, so we were happy to save it.
It's just really, and I know you have events. I think my husband did a wedding down there, but you probably have more than that. Knowing also that the Mob Museum is an entertainment site if you want to have a party or do something, and they're obviously both have contact sources to put them on. And your hours at the Neon?
We are 10 to 10, 7 days a week.
And so are you on, which I've been hoping for from the beginning, but the drop off for our free loop that goes around all of downtown, and that's something that the city's been trying to expand. You're looking at me strangely.
We've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Okay, we'll get on that. All right, so how about, I don't know how much time I have left, but we'll speak quickly. Plans, immediate plans for the future. John, Nathan.
Well, we clearly always looking for ways to grow. We continue to refine the exhibits that we have. As a matter of fact, we just redid an exhibit about Howard Hughes. We put out another one that is about Jay Dobbins, who was an undercover ATF agent. Really fascinating stuff. And we continue to look for opportunities to expand the exhibits that we have inside the museum and special experiences, as well as thinking about what comes next externally. I mean, we're bursting at the seams. We have all of our team. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, but we actually have multiple off-site offices. We need to correct that and get folks back on site. We all know how challenging it is to be disconnected from the museum itself. But there's also so much more history that we could be preserving as we continue to acquire artifacts.
Are you able to go up Physically, are you able to
We,
build
we
up?
cannot do anything more in the existing building. It's a historic structure. We could conceivably add onto it or go outside somewhere else on our property, and we are exploring all of those plans because we have to do it. I mean, you can't continue to grow with the visitation volume that we have at the pace we've been growing without having more space and more interesting ways to engage the public and to educate the public and to provide good services
I know
for
you
this
have
community.
a speaker series too, but any plans for a traveling exhibit beyond the confines of Las Vegas?
Yeah, we don't at this point in time have plans for a physical traveling exhibition, but again, I'd go back to the mobile app is a great way for people to access content remotely, as is the website. There is so much to do on our website in terms of video that you can watch, news stories you can read, other types of interactive games that you can play, and it is even possible for someone to take a virtual tour of the museum. That's a little bit more complicated to arrange than just simply going through the website, but we do have that available also. So
And the public, they could bring in a party of adults that have come in from Cincinnati or
absolutely.
somewhere. And
I mean, we do group visits. We also do facility rentals. So we do frequently have whether it's a smaller group that is in one of our meeting spaces like the Oscar Goodman room, or a larger party or gathering that's in the historic courtroom.
So you do have it
or
and
full,
catered. I mean, you can get it catered and everything.
Yeah, and it's really can provide whatever type of experience it is that people.
And the last question I'm sorry that we can't spend more time, we'll have to do it again. If somebody has something they want to contribute or get evaluated to be contributed or to find out what it is, who do they contact at the museum?
So you can go right on our website, which is themommuseum.org, and there are ways to give there. So whether it's someone is being so generous to become one of our financial donors or wants to give the gift of an artifact, there are instructions of who to call or what email address to write to. We can't evaluate somebody's.
You can or cannot.
You cannot, as you're accepting a donation, you can't give a value to that object. I mean, clearly, if someone's writing a check, we all know what that check
So
is. But,
with that said, thank you so much. All right, now your future, your immediate future, what are you seeing in the next, let's say, 5 years?
We're only going to continue to grow. And what's so exciting, going back to my native roots, what's so exciting is to see the maturation of the city of Las Vegas. That we're both sitting here talking about two museums that did not exist. My parents took us out of Las Vegas for culture because there was nothing here.
Right.
And now my kids and my grandkids, it's all here. It's fantastic.
Isn't it? It's really, and the thing is, Las Vegas is known worldwide, and so as anything goes out from here and people are curious because we're so interconnected, they can find out where you are, what you do, what your hours are,
Right.
and is their favorite sign from years ago still there, and they want to get married in front of it or have a party, they can arrange that. Who do they contact?
They can reach out to me directly, rmccoy@neonmuseum.org.
And so chances for, I know there's an awful lot of cost ahead. So I'm assuming you're going to look to the city a little bit, and we always look to private partnerships, as do you.
We are.
What are the immediate needs?
We're going into a capital campaign to raise the money to help us to get into Reed Whipple. We put together a great campaign team. Chaired by former Mayor Jan Jones.
Oh, how wonderful.
And so we're looking forward to this, and it's nothing but up. Nothing but up.
This is so exciting, and for all of you that have been part of the growth and love for this city and everything, you can't be a world-class city without culture. And so we are so proud of the history of everything that we are now enjoying because of the love and work by so many, and it's so exciting. So the Mob Museum and our wonderful Boneyard, the Neon Museum, that also has signage up and down the medians on Las Vegas Boulevard. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at two more wonderful museums here in town. We'll have representatives from the National Atomic Testing Museum as well as the Las Vegas Natural History Museum, joining me next. So we'll be right back.
One in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Welcome back, everyone. If you want to take an even deeper dive into the history of Las Vegas, you'll want to check out these fabulous 2 Las Vegas museums, both guardians of our past. Marilyn Gillespie, Executive Director of the Las Vegas Natural History Museum, joins me now, as well as Brian McAnallen, who's here on behalf of the National Atomic Testing Museum. So welcome, and thank you both for being here. I'm so excited to see you. Great friends of the city, but great friends of mine too, and so proud of how much you're both adding to our community and have been. So in deference, because a little longer serving and not yet down the National Atomic Testing into the core and the historic core of our city, Marilyn has been, how many years have you been with the Natural History Museum?
It's scary to think about it, but 30.
Are you native born here too?
No.
She's so young, don't believe that.
The museum is going to be 29 years old, but it took about a year to open it, and I am its founder. Very proud of that.
So
And,
that is extremely important. That shows when you have a concept and you believe in something and you stick with it, you'll see what, if you haven't been down there, you need to go and see what's been created, but all because of the heart and soul and determination, relentlessness of wonderful Marilyn Gillespie.
Well, thank you.
So tell us,
you.
what are you housing there? How many acres are you on? Is there room for growth? Do you hope to grow? So tell us a little bit about how you got interested, first of all, in natural history.
Before I came to Las Vegas, I'd never had any prior museum experience, but there was a museum, a natural history museum on the Strip, and it was very short-lived. And I went to work there as a volunteer when I first moved to town because I wanted to get involved in the community. And that museum was only in existence for 2 years, and it went bankrupt. And
Where was it located?
It was across the street from the Aladdin.
Oh my gosh, sure. Remember the Aladdin?
Yeah, a very long time ago.
And what kind of a collection did it have?
It was a natural history museum, but as it was in bankruptcy and really, going down, I, with 2 friends that worked at the museum, went to the city and said, the old museum is dying, but Las Vegas needs to have a natural history museum. Right. We don't want to live in a community that doesn't have museums. And 30 years ago, there were not very many museums in Las Vegas. And the city agreed with us. And we said, we feel like we could do it and we could do it right. We need a home. And the city bought the building that we are in today. And so obviously we would not be here today if it were not for that belief that the city of Las Vegas had in us.
And that year was, what year was that founded? Was that Mayor Jan Jones' year?
No, it was actually goes back to Ron Lurie.
Isn't that fabulous? So he had a term there and then went over, I think, to Arizona Charlie's.
Yes.
But there was the beginning. So your thrust was to give us what? The history of Las Vegas natural history, or something grander? That what was your thrust?
One of the museums that was here was the State Museum, and they pretty well were covering, Nevada. But what our goal was to take more of a global approach to natural history and to go beyond the local borders.
So what are we showing here right now? I mean,
we have animals from all over the world, and some of the animals that we have are so rare that you could not find them in any other American museum. When we got this particular collection, a lot of those animals are extremely rare. We also have a lot of live animals. Usually when people think of museums, they think of a bunch of dead stuff.
Yes.
But we've incorporated a lot of live animals because our audience is not the tourists, but our kids. And we realize that the live animals do have a tremendous educational impact.
And so you are having, you have BLM land. I know that you already received the collections that were stored in California from former Senator Harry Reid. What's that?
We are very fortunate because a couple of years ago we became a state and federal repository for fossils and archaeological things. And with this relationship with the BLM, we not only were able to go to California to reclaim the fossils that always in the past, when they discovered a fossil in in Nevada, the whole state, it was immediately shipped away to another state. And so now that we are a federal repository, we were able to go to California and reclaim our fossils, reclaim our history. And so we're very proud of that.
And you have a lab, as I recall. I went to the opening of your lab. How about tell us a little bit about that? What are you doing in the lab, and our students coming in from?
We have the only working paleo lab in the state of Nevada. And our researchers...
Which means exactly what are you doing there?
Well, our researchers, when they go out and find a dinosaur or whatever, a mammoth, that fossil comes back to our lab, and it is being worked on in the lab, and then it is ultimately in the repository. If it doesn't go on public display, it will go in the repository for preservation for generations to come. And the cool thing is the kids, when they come down on tours, they can actually watch the paleontologists working on these fossils, ask questions, and they can watch science happening.
And so how about the climate as you're preserving these? Who examines and figures out? Is that part of the lab's work to go ahead, knowing the great age of some of these finds? Is that part of it?
Yes, and we have several paleontologists, on our staff, but our head curator is Dr. Josh Bondi, and
yes.
If you think about it, nobody had ever discovered a dinosaur in the state of Nevada until about 12 years ago. And it was Josh that found the first one, and since then, he and his team had found many dinosaurs, and including a new species that they're going to get to name. And some of the discoveries that they have found are incredible. In fact, one that it sounds really weird that I sound excited about this, but they have discovered fossilized maggots. Now, no one in the world has ever discovered a fossilized maggot before. They didn't even know that could fossilize.
Attached to a bone?
It was actually in the brain case of a mammoth.
Isn't that fascinating?
And fossilized, and so they're doing, papers on it. So it is some really, really cutting edge new discoveries.
And he's out at UNLV teaching, correct? Or
no,
not
we
anymore?
we were able to steal him away, and he is full time at the museum now.
Isn't that exciting? And does he do lectures? Does he do exhibits? Is this open to the general public during the daytime, every day, or what?
Yes, and if he's not out in the field, he's in the lab. Right now he's actually working on a paper because he has found some frogs that were discovered, and they are right at the time, 65 million years ago, that they are survivors of the asteroid that killed off all the dinosaurs. These frogs are survivors. So he is writing a paper right now about that. So it's very exciting stuff.
It is really amazingly exciting. And how can the public be part of the archaeological digs or wherever he is? And are they allowed to make an application to be participatory?
To go out on the digs because it's very important that we preserve these sites. He's not really taking, the public out to them, but at some point we're going to be doing virtual tours.
Beautiful.
So we will show, not necessarily exactly where he's at, but we will film him out, and he can explain to the kids what he's doing, and it's very exciting. I got to go out about a year ago to see the site where they had just discovered this dinosaur that they were going to get to name. We hadn't been out 15 minutes, and he discovered another dinosaur.
See, look how exciting that is.
Yes, and it's like Nevada is all this virgin territory that nobody has ever made these discoveries.
And this
so
is, while I know,
exciting.
having been down to the museum many times, the other exhibits that are there, to share with the public, if you would, what are the other exhibits? But to hold on to this because it is so exciting. I went with former Councilman Steve Ross just for a tour out in part of the small area of the BLM where we were allowed to go. And it's spine tingling. It's so exciting to think what you're looking for, what you're looking at, whether it's a tooth that's found or whatever. But some of your other exhibits, and then the presentation, because it is a remarkably excellent museum, and I give you credit for pulling it all together. Some of the other parts of the exhibits that are there.
One of the exhibits that's fairly new is we just redid, not too very long ago, our African exhibit. We got a wonderful collection, thank you very much, from Gary Prim, and I know you had a hand in that, getting that for us. And so we have an exhibit that you go in, and it's a 360, it's like you're in the African savannah. And it's really important because this is an environment that most people will never have firsthand. And it's also important because as we bring the kids in there, there's a lot of animals that are in there that may not be around when these kids grow up. So it's so important, which is our mission, that we want to instill an appreciation, in these kids, and that they understand that they're the stewards of tomorrow.
Well, when you go into the rooms and you see this, and you have this incredible talent who's gone ahead and created an environment, pastel, a painting that encompasses the whole feeling. And who is that artist, and is he still helping and participating?
We're very lucky because we have Ed Bigelow. He is a local artist, and he is just tremendous. Not only is he a great muralist, he has sculpted things for us. We have an exhibit about Australopithecus and Homo habilis and Homo erectus, and he sculpted these creatures for us, and he worked with UNLV's anthropologist to make sure that they were as accurate as possible. And he's just, everything I throw at him, he's been able to do. And we
Egypt, you've been in Egypt here.
Yes, we were very fortunate because when the Luxor was doing some renovations and getting rid of their recreation of King Tut's tomb, they donated that collection to us, and we're very grateful for that. And I was very pleased to hear, because when the CEO of the Luxor came to visited, he said, you did it much better than we did, Marilyn.
See, well,
So
I just congratulate you. And please come on down. It's right across, your address is?
900 Las Vegas Boulevard North.
And wonderful. And just to come down, your hours?
9 to 4, 7 days a week.
9 to 4, it's so exciting. So there's so much to see in a website?
lvnhm.org.
Wonderful. Well, we're so grateful, so proud, and so passionate that you are a passionate lady who loves the history of the world and natural history. And so thank you so much, and we're delighted. But also part of it, when we go back to the specifics, a little bit of Brian McAnallen first, because I think I've known you the whole time I've been mayor at City Hall, and you used to be, other things have grown out of that, used to be with us and very involved, but now your involvement with one of the most significant parts of the history of this community. So let you talk to that and what you're doing, what you're up to.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for having us on the program, too. I represent the National Atomic Testing Museum, and I represent them at the city, state, and federal level. And it's been just an amazing opportunity for me, and really exciting, because it is such a part of not only the Las Vegas history and Nevada's history, but our national history. And the museum tells that story, and its charge, it was designated by Congress in 2012 to be one of a handful of national private museums. And the mission really is to tell the story of atomic testing development and the programs, as well as the Nevada National Security Site, which we know as the Nevada Test Site.
So you're seeing some film now. Our wonderful cameraman, Erica, went out to the museum, took some sights, but what was going on there? What were the years approximately? What are the pictures that we're taking a look?
So some of the exhibits that are being shown, you'd see the pop culture exhibits about atomic testing and when we became the atomic testing age. You might see the yearbook in there from Las Vegas Academy, but Las Vegas High School, and on the cover of the yearbook was one of the atomic tests. You'll also see a recreation of Frank Rogers' office, who was a test site director, the father of Jim Rogers, and the building is named after the Rogers family. You also saw Ground Zero Theater, which gives an opportunity to kind of sit and feel or get a sense of what it would have been like to be out at the test site and to actually watch an atmospheric detonation. We have other exhibits that talk about the naval testing that took place in the Bikini Atoll, and you would also see there's some coverage of the duck and cover as well. We have different video clips that kind of explain various parts of the history of testing. But in the naval section exhibit, we have a mock-up of the USS Nevada. And a lot of people don't know, but the Nevada, of course, was at Pearl Harbor, but it also had a significant role in our testing history. It was out in Bikini Atoll and was the target for one of the aerial detonations. And the Nevada's a great ship because when the Air Force flew over and dropped the bomb, they missed the target. and she has survived and has a very wonderful history that's linked to our state as well.
Well, you know, to me, and being a little girl at the time back east, and remembering just vaguely my family and my parents as we ended the war with these tests that had come out of our test site here. And so it's significant, but so definitely part of the growth and development of our entire community here in Las Vegas, which had a worldwide significance because of it. And so one of the things that we've definitely learned with the history of the dam and with the history of Las Vegas, there's so much to preserve and keep and honor. And so we want everything that's of a historical nature here. And so these wonderful museums, we are hopeful of, because the museum's been in existence out on, is that Flamingo?
It's Flamingo and Swenson are the cross streets on the Desert Research Institute campus adjacent to UNLV.
And so UNLV growing, needing space, also atomic testing needing to be in this area where you can travel from museum to museum and have the history of so many different things available. So my hope is, and you currently are helping us not only with the national atomic testing, but you're also helping us trying to secure funding from legislature, from the federal government, because this is all about preservation. But for us here and for us in Southern Nevada, it's about access. getting to see it, learning. Now, how many are you also inviting schools out there, which is what we'll assume is going to continue?
Yes, we have a number of programs, and just like the Natural History Museum and the Mob Museum are one of the museums that CCSD chooses to have a significant number of field trips. So we would see that increasing, especially as our size grows. In the current location where we are now, we're just grown to capacity. The museum's been around for about 15 years, but the minute we kind of came in, we were already at space capacity. So it's important for us to really grow and expand and tell the story in a new, innovative way with a lot more science focus and technology focus. And as adjacent to our museum is also what I might call our sister entity, the National Testing Archives, also created by Congress with the mission to provide the public access to the history of testing as well as individual records, and really become a place to do research on the test site. And we're hoping that they will move with us, relocate with us. They're also tapped out on their document storage, and as more and more documents become declassified or unclassified where you can go in and see those, there's a real need for space there. So we hope to bring both entities, the museum
They're
and
not
the
joined
test
together under one board? They're two separate entities?
So the National Atomic Testing Museum is a private 501c3 organization, and the National Testing Archives is a part of the Department of Energy through the National Nuclear Security Administration, the NNSA, which also runs the test site. So that's a government program, government funded, but it's really to be there for private use to understand and get the history and details of
So
what went on at
if
the
a
test
building is built specifically to house both of those, isn't there something that has to be done to make sure they're preserved in perpetuity?
Well, that's what we would be doing. So our organization, the 501c3 Atomic Testing Museum Historic Foundation, would be the owner operator of a new museum and have the ability to control that space. And we would hope to lease out space for the National Testing Archives, which is a part of the Department of Energy. And we're really excited. Our board's taken a position to look at a location at Symphony Park, adjacent to the Smith Center and the parking garage, and right outside your office. If you went on your balcony, you'd look right there and see us. Very excited about that opportunity, and we're currently negotiating with the city now on the term sheet for the property and milestones that we would need to meet. And our museum is so excited about coming downtown and being a part of sort of the museum culture that's here, and also increase our foot traffic. And
which is heaven sent, because it's very difficult out there on Flamingo. I know, having been there. Did I dream it, or did in fact the Nevada State Legislature award a challenge grant?
So last session, the legislature put up $1 million, and of course the museum has to raise $1 million in a match to draw down those dollars, and we've already done that successfully with about half of that $1 million, and we're working on our other $1 million match. We are seeking federal funds and federal support. Of course, that's all contingent on the federal government passing budgets and approving those things. And we'll be looking to partner with the city where we can on resources and support. And then we have a capital campaign that will
underway
that will kick into a much higher level, accelerated once we work on term sheets and actually have agreements on the land and timelines on when we would build. And again, it's a multiple step process, very exciting for us, and we'll need community support as much as we will federal and government support.
Well, it's so exciting for us, and I know back several years ago we started this free loop transportation with the hopes that it would take people who are visiting, either coming into the city from the Bonneville RTC station and then get on the free loop and be able to get to the different museums all day, every day. And so we've gotten to a point now, initially getting it going. We did have the Natural History Museum on the schedule, but because the city could only fund 2 buses, we just miss a drop-off. I think our last drop-off is on Stewart at Las Vegas Boulevard. But seeing this and having that loop for free, be able to go around the city, get to these museums, and the foot traffic because of Discovery Museum. There's another museum, the Children's Interactive Discovery Museum, and of course the Smith Center. And now we're building through the World Market Center convention space. Do you, either of you, have space auditoriums in the museums, or planned for the museum, that you can hold lectures and house a school or 2 or 3? Is there one in the Natural History Museum?
No, we have an area that when we do lectures, but the capacity is, probably only about 100 people. So, there is a great need out there.
So as you grow, and hopefully you will continue, especially as you're getting these collections, the space is obviously you're confined, and that needs to happen as well.
Yes.
In plans, is there any talk about getting somebody to design, or is the board already looking at that? And if so, are we looking at a multi-story building, or are we going totally horizontally?
Well, we're looking at a world-class developer who has a great history of building fantastic buildings in Las Vegas, and we would certainly, given that footprint of space over there, probably be at a 4 or 5 story building, depending on how we situate ourselves in there. We currently have a small theater right now that we call the Area 51 Theater, and we hold a number of lectures on a periodic basis. We've had Gary Powers Jr. come. We've had Nikita Khrushchev's grandson come out and speak and talk about their personal history, as well as the testing and involvement in aerial tests that have gone on in the past. So we are planning on building a theater that would suit our needs and have exhibit and classroom space for
I hope
school children.
The design, the architectural design, will be unusual. I mean, because we look, you're right next to the Cleveland Clinic, Lou Rufo Institute for Brain Health, and the Frank Gehry design, and we've just, I mean, there have been such wonderful different types of works of art, these great architects. So as the plan goes forward, coming in the future, anything on the immediate future? I know there was a plan, but hopefully that was just postponed, a science festival, but that down the road moved a little bit. But what was going to be in that?
The Science Festival is a program that we really run, but we have, obviously it takes a village. It is the largest educational event in the state.
Wow.
And it's a 9-day citywide event, and last year we saw 50,000 people that took advantage of the programming. And the important thing is all of the programming is free to the public, because the community has been so good about helping us support this thing, and we started doing it basically knowing that we are really failing our children in science, and so we wanted to make sure that they understood that science doesn't have to be scary, it doesn't have to be boring, and it's all around you.
Well, and my hope is that these will continue to be very popular, and that if anybody wants to help, please make sure that you are supporting the Natural History Museum and the National Atomic Testing. Anything on the immediacy?
There is. In July, we'll be celebrating or recognizing the anniversary of the Trinity test. 75th anniversary of the first test that took place in New Mexico. And of course, that was the precursor to the Fat Man, and but that was the first nuclear test.
See, isn't this so it's so exciting to be alive today and have a part in remembering everything and building the future at the same time. And I just want to thank you all for watching and being with us today, and thank you at home for watching us. We'll see you next time for another episode of Hello Mayor, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you. You are so lucky to live here and that these two organizations are here.